Hello, Sean Iddings here. Welcome to another edition of the MicroCap Club Member Spotlight. These interviews will showcase many of the talented members of MicroCap Club. And today we have Ryan Parker, who's Director of Planning and Analysis at RCI Hospitality Holdings, and he's also a part-time investor. Ryan, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
So I've known you for a little while, Ryan, but tell us a little bit more about your background and how you got to where you are today.
So back in the late 90s, I was when I was in college, I was at the University of Texas at Austin. And of course, that was towards the end of the secular bull market that ran from 82 to 2000. And I saw all the money that was being made, from, family, friends, et cetera, in the stock market. And, I started thinking, I'm like, how do I get into this? How, it piqued my interest. And, my initial results were not very good. I had a broker at Payne Weber using some money that I think I'd gotten from, I think I got it from graduating high school or something like that. And I think one of the first stocks he ever bought for me was Kopin, which was KOPN, which incidentally is still around. I think it's at $2 or $3 a share. So I ended up getting an internship at a brokerage firm from 98, a full service brokerage firm back in 98. And I was there until right after I actually quit to go on spring break right before I went on spring break in 2000, which was right when the dot-com bubble was peaking. And it was just a very interesting time. And I mean, everything that was going on at the brokerage firm it was very similar to the craziness that you see in the movie The Wolf of Wall Street and in Boiler Room, without all the illegal activities. But it was the excess back then was encouraged, and it was pretty crazy. And I remember the brokerage firm I worked at, they had two Christmas parties. They had one that was like the family Christmas party, and then they had the one that was the office Christmas party. that was how I got my interest. And I mean, I think the first stock I ever bought in my online brokerage account was eToys, and of course that didn't go very well. But
gotcha. So you got into it there. But what about microcaps? Was there a specific point afterwards that really got you interested in the tiny companies?
So when so as I started getting interested in the stock market, et cetera, I started reading a lot of books. And some of the books that I read were the Investor's Business Daily books from William O'Neill. And incidentally, he incorporates like a minimum market cap of, I don't know, I can't remember what it was at the time, 150, 250 million or something like that. And, and then I started thinking, I saw once these stocks hit those market caps, I started seeing, when they got profiled in Investor's Business Daily in the top 100, they started going crazy. And I started thinking, well, what if I can find these before they, Investor's Business Daily finds them? And so why not? Why can't you apply the same kind of, technical analysis and everything else to smaller stocks? And so that's how my interest in microcaps developed.
Gotcha. And you were just mentioning that you were operating you were just living through the tech bubble in 2000. Can you see any kind of parallels between then and like the crypto boom and all that kind of stuff that's happened, or even just talk about like what happened during 2021 era?
I definitely think there's some kind of froth. There's definitely some froth now. I don't think it's quite like the tech bubble of 2000, 2001. I remember the Yahoo message boards back in, 99, 2000, and people like every day were like, I'm retiring, because, all these tech companies back then, none of these companies made money, and they didn't have, a lot of them didn't even have revenues. And a lot of the stuff that's running now, I mean, these legitimate companies, I think the multiples have gotten somewhat expanded, but we're not valuing on eyeballs and stuff like that. But yeah, there's definitely a feel in like crypto and AI and stuff like that. There's definitely some feel of that to it.
And what about your investing strategy? What has been your experience in terms of investing, and where have you found yourself right now in terms of where you're investing and how you invest into stuff?
So I started investing. So I didn't really start making money until about 2001. And the first stock that I really had was a multi-bagger for me was a company called Silicon Image. They were actually the creators of HDMI and digital visual interface. And they didn't actually make a lot of money off of the chips that they were making. They made all their money off of the royalties and licensing that they got, because any company that made an HDMI or digital DVI chip basically had to pay them a royalty. And I think when I started buying that stock after the 9/11 crash, I think it was $1. And I I want to say that I got up to about 15 or 20 in 2000, somewhere between like 2004 and 2007. But I think I incorporate a lot of technical analysis into what I do, which I think really separates me from a lot of microcap investors, because a lot of people I meet just think it's voodoo, or especially trying to incorporate it into microcaps, it's the same. But I mean, when I've been studying technical analysis for about 25 years now, and a lot of the patterns are the same. And that's I really look for companies that are not in downtrends. I like to find companies that are at least in a base that they can break out of. And then if I will buy companies that are in uptrends, that are in pullbacks and uptrends, where I feel confident in the fundamentals of the company. But generally speaking, I don't usually buy stocks that are in downtrends. Like I recently profiled Silver Dollar, and I bought some recently at the end of February, and that was a rarity for me. I was just looking at that one, and I'd followed it for a long time, and I was like, okay, the enterprise value here has got down to $2.5 million, and they have 4 million in cash, and I felt like the precious metals market was about to turn, so that's why I profiled it.
Right. So yeah, there's a lot of different technical analysis that I've seen that you've pointed out. So you're just looking for companies that could have more interest and demand in the future, and you're just able to figure that out with your TA, right?
Well, the technical analysis provides it's a measure of supply and demand. And a lot, I don't know if you're familiar with Elliott wave, but there's the basic template of Elliott wave is that there's 5 waves up, and then there's the corrections are generally 3 waves, but there's basically like 5 different kinds of corrections. And it's just amazing to me that the same corrective patterns play out in microcaps. And whether it's a short sharp correction, or it's a really extended period correction that just kind of wears people out, the short sharp corrections are generally called zigzags, and the more extended ones are, they can be like double zigzags or triangles, or those are the longer, tend to be the longer patterns that tend to wear people out more than have a huge correction in price.
Right. And so before we were talking, before we started the recording on this interview, you were just mentioning about managing other people's money in the past, and some of the challenges that you faced and why you decided to move on from that. You might, people who are watching this might find your experience interesting. So maybe if you just wanted to share a little bit of that.
Sure. So when I started managing money, one thing I didn't understand was how much work the compliance was going to be. That was one of the issues. So if you ever get audited by the regulators, generally what happens is they'll just show up at your office and they'll tell you, cancel. If you have any plans for the next 3 days, just cancel them. And here we are. So I managed money from 2003 to 2015. I focused generally on macro, but I also did a lot of microcaps as well. And it was over time, I found it to be very stressful. And in around 2015, I decided that I wanted to try something different. And I just wanted to be able to manage money for myself and my family, and not really have to worry about the stresses of the market, where the market goes on a day-to-day basis. And it's been a great move for me, and I'm much happier.
Well, that's good to hear. And Ryan, what are some of the things happening now, like in the market, or just investing in general, that really has your piques your interest? Is there anything kind of big idea, small idea, industries, or anything like that that are really interesting to you?
Yes, something huge. So I've always been fundamentally a gold bug. Whenever I was in college, I majored in economics, and so economic cycles, et cetera, have always fascinated me. And so I've always been a gold bug at heart, and had a great run from 2001 to 2011, and it's been in a secular bear market since 2011, but we're just now starting to break out of that. And I think that, I think we're looking at another 10-year secular bull market in gold and precious metals. Similar to, like, you look at what happened with the Dow from 1966 and 1982, where it didn't go anywhere over like a 16-year period. We're kind of like in that same position with gold and precious metals. And the other thing right now is the sentiment is horrible. Nobody cares. I was just mentioning silver dollar. I mean, due to the bear market, it just got left for dead, even though they still had cash on the balance sheet. They weren't going out of business, but the stock was priced like it was going out of business.
Right.
But I mean, I think over the next 10 years, I think gold and silver can have some absolutely massive runs. But I think over the next 12 to 18 months, I think we can see $40 to $50 silver and $2,700 to $3,000 gold.
Do you see any competition and challenge from Bitcoin and other,
I do. And I mean, I own some crypto, and I think that crypto is part of what has delayed the start of the bull market in precious metals, because it technically should have probably started in 2021. Because when I look at the various cycles, so we were in a disinflationary cycle from 1982 to 2021. And it's interesting how when you look at various turning points in the market over history, they usually correspond with Fibonacci numbers. So, and then I've had from 2015 on, I had 2021 as a major market turning point. 2021 was 13 Fib years from the '08 crash. It was 21 Fibonacci years from the 2000 dot-com bubble peak. It was 34 years from the 1987 crash. And it was 55 years from the 1966 peak. And it was 89 Fib years from the 1932 nominal valuation low, or the nominal low of the bear market from 1929, 1932. I had never seen that kind of a confluence of those kind of Fibonacci clusters like that. So I knew 2021 was going to be a big turning point. I wasn't sure exactly what it was. And I think what it was is it was the end of the disinflationary cycle that started in 1982. And I think we've started a new inflationary cycle that's probably going to run, from 2021 to 2035 or something like that. And so, yeah, I mean, I definitely think that that crypto has taken a little bit of the thunder away from gold and silver. But the one thing I've noticed about crypto is that it really seems to follow the liquidity trends of the stock market. So crypto does well when the stock market's doing well, but when the stock market's not doing well, gold and silver have kind of some history there of performing well whenever the stock market's not doing well. It's just this total switch in fund flows. And we'll see if, when the market finally does turn down, it'll be interesting to see how crypto holds up whenever the market's going down.
Yeah. Very interesting insights. Really appreciate that, Ryan. So you've been a member of MicroCap Club for a long time, probably since the founding, like in 2011.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. I don't know how many original members there were, but yeah, I think Chris Lahiji told me about it. He's like, yeah, Ian's starting this club and MicroCap Club, and I thought, oh, that'll be really cool. We can swap ideas, and I thought it was a great idea, and I really enjoyed being a part of it. I mean, I remember it was so initially back in the day, it was not easy to find microcap investors. Chris Lahiji was the first person I ever met in microcap back in 2003. And I remember when he and I first met each other, and we would sit and talk on the phone for 2 to 3 hours at night until we fell asleep talking about microcap stocks. So I always really enjoyed it. And I mean, now we get to converse with each other on a regular basis through the forum. And, you know, we get to see each other once a year at the summit. So it's a great forum, and I just really love it.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been a part of it since I think 2014, and, you know, just seeing where it's come since then.
Yeah,
And,
it's been huge.
Yeah, big changes. And I mean, we're working on a lot of other different things. We have a lot of levers to pull, and, you know, hopefully make this even better community for members like yourself, subscribers, and really the microcap landscape itself.
Right.
But anyway, Ryan, I really appreciate you taking the time out today to chat with me, instead of going to the strip bars that you but yeah, so are there other places? What I'll do is I'm going to share your MicroCap Club handle down below. Are there any other places online that people can reach out to you at?
No, I'm an old fogey. I'm on Facebook. I have a Twitter and I have Instagram, but I occasionally get on Twitter, and I follow a few people like Maj and some other people on MicroCap Club, and occasionally I look on there. And I probably should get more into Twitter, but I'm never really on there. I don't think I've ever posted anything, and I have an Instagram account, but I don't know if I've ever logged in. I don't know. I'd have to check to find out my login info. I'd have to submit the forgot password thing.
Well, if anybody wants to talk technical analysis, I mean, you're the guy, or any other gold bugs?
Yeah, just reach out to me through, you can send me a DM through MicroCap Club.
Awesome. Thanks again, Ryan.
Thanks, John. It was a lot of fun.